Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We are commencing to discuss the Antara Shaucham. So there are Shaucha of two planes. One is called VIII Shaucha and the other one is Antara Shaucha, Antara Shaucha. So Antara Shaucha means purification of our very essence. Usually it is considered to be purification of the mind, but Patanjali has a concept called Sattva Shuddhi. Sattva means our essence. Naturally, it is the sense of our mind, psyche, consciousness. And its purification is Antara Shaucha. Antara Shaucha doesn't score much importance for person soaked in mundanity. Person who is looking for a glorious material life. But that person, Antara Shaucha, is of no importance. However, in Adhyatma, Antara Shaucha is of paramount importance. In spiritual pursuit, the Antara Shaucha is of paramount importance. That is purifying our very essence. And of course, the human essence lies in human mind. What man is more depends upon how the mind of the person is. Mind, psyche, consciousness of the person is. So it is intrinsic value of mankind. So that is the Sattva. And Sattva Shuddhi means purificatory acts of our essence. So this is also to be understood as Antahkarana Shaucham, the Shaucha of the Antahkaranam. Antahkaranam is our internal organ. Internal organ is constituted by mind, intelligence, ego, psyche, consciousness, samskars, vasanas. So it is Antahkarana Shaucha. So this is also to be understood as Manasa Shaucha, Buddhi Shaucha, Bhavana Shaucha, ahamkara Shaucha, Vichaara Shaucha, Vrtti Shaucha, Svabhava Shaucha. So it includes from manifest to unmanifest, because our aspect of mind is also to some extent our external manifestation, and that is why we assess a person by these factors, such as he is a good person, not a good person. This has nothing to do with the body appearance. This has nothing to do with the body condition. But when we say somebody is a good person, we refer to the mind, psyche, consciousness of that person. So, noble person, ignoble person, decent person, indecent person, good person, not so good person, bad person, magnanimous person, glorious person. So we don't refer to external manifestation of body, but we refer to external manifestation of mind. And from external manifestation of the mind has several layers. The Antahkarana is something like onion, which has several petals, layers of petals. So purification of the mind stuff, which is like a flower or onion, because the flower has several layers of petals, one over the other, one over the other, one over the other, or lotus, which has so many petals, layers of petals, or onion, which has several layers of petals of onion. So, therefore, Manasa Shaucha, Buddhi Shaucha, pure mind, pure intelligence, pure emotions, pure psyche, pure I-ness. That is called ahamkara Shuddhi, Antara Shaucha. When the ahamkara is Shuchir-bhuta, purified, then we refer to that person as a person of pure I-ness. So also we refer to the thoughts of the person. If a person has noble thoughts, we say that is a good person. If a person doesn't have noble thoughts but ignoble thoughts, we say that's not a good person. So, Vichaara Shaucha. So, see what all is counted: Manasa Shaucha, Buddhi Shaucha, Bhavani Shaucha, that is of emotions, Ahamkara Shaucha, that is of the I-ness, and then Vichaara Shaucha, that is of the thought, then Vrtti Shaucha. So we say somebody is good natured, somebody is not good natured. So the mental manifestations, when they take place every time on a good plane, then we say the person has good behavior, the person has good conduct, or person has a good nature. Because all that person does, the good nature reflects in his acts. That is called Vrtti Shaucha. Then Svabhava Shaucha, nature of a person. So this is the Antara Shaucha. So Antahkaranam has peripheral external layer, which is visible aspect, and then it has invisible aspects on the internal plane. So Yoga, Adhyatma, Paramartha works on that mind on all its plane, or at least on many deeper planes, if not all the planes, the deeper planes of psychic consciousness. Because psychic consciousness, as I said, is something like onion. You peel the skin of the onion, you get the first layer of onion. The first layer of the onion can be peeled, you get second layer of onion. You peel the second layer, you get a third layer, and this happens until you go to stem of onion. So similarly, human consciousness has several layers, and the Antara Shaucha refers to cleansing and cleanliness of these internal layers as far as possible. And Yoga, Adhyatma, Paramartha can take one to great depths of one's own psychic consciousness. And there are kriyas and acts to purify the internal layers of the mind rather than just cosmetic uplift. Otherwise, usually man in mundanity, worldliness, is just trying to address the cosmetic mind, which is peripheral mind, appearanceable mind. So the mind has appearanceable plane as well as non-appearanceable planes. And spiritual sadhana depends upon how far one has worked on the invisible planes of mind as well, and not just the visible plane of mind. So Antara Shaucha has Vyaktansha and Avyaktansha. Vyaktansha means visible plane of it, and Avyaktansha means invisible plane of it. So others will not be able to go to the invisible mind of yours, but you can certainly go to your invisible mind through yoga. Yoga takes you towards your invisible mind as well. That's called tendencies, samskars, etc. So samskara shuddhi also comes in, vasana shuddhi also comes in, purification of the tendencies is also counted here. So yoga doesn't believe that it is a helplessness and haplessness when it comes to tendencies. It is not right that we cannot really work on our tendencies. The tendencies too can be cleansed, washed, and purified. So that purification, from cleansing of it to purification of it and sanctifying of it, it is called Antara Shaucha. So yoga has some practices, Adhyatma, spirituality has some practices which work on this purification of the internal and even invisible mind, psyche, consciousness. That is called Antara Shaucha. So, how does this take place? Antara Shaucha. So, Antara Shaucha again depends upon Ahara Shuddhi. And we have seen that from Ahara, our mind and consciousness are turned out. And we have considered this Ahara Shuddhi aspect in Bahya Shuchi. Now you can also understand how the Ahara Shuddhi comes in Antara Shaucha. So to purifying the essence of our consciousness and essence of our mind, Ahara Shuddhi is important. What we eat. When we say what we eat, it is not only what we eat at the dining table, something that is cooked in the kitchen, but we also eat through our other gates. Through our sensory gates, we eat so many things. Through our mental gates, we eat so many things. Through our intellectual gates, we eat so many things. Through our emotional gates, we eat so many things. With our Vrtti gates, we eat so many things. So ahara, all kinds of intakes. Like sometimes we refer to something as intellectual food. Have you ever tried to understand the nutrients of intellectual food? Do you trace there the vitamins? Do you trace their proteins? Do you trace their minerals? We don't trace vitamins and proteins, etc., that we understand in nutrition in food. So in intellectual food, we don't try to trace these A to Z vitamins, proteins, calcium, iron, minerals, etc., etc., salts, etc., etc. But yet we have intellectual food. We have emotional food. So the Ahara Shuddhi overall would work for this purification. So Ahara is one portal through which we can be purifying our essence, purifying our mind to psyche consciousness. Vichaara is our movements. If you are used to be all the time in company of bad people, unscrupulous people, scoundrels, that would spoil our mind. But if we are having good company, good people around, and we are always in good people, move with good people, live with good people, naturally that would improve our essence. That would improve our mind as well as essence. So, ahara, vihara, achara, our conduct, our ethos. Our life is based on ethos. And we can develop our ethos as well. So what we do also works on our mind. What we work, what we do, what are our activities does work on mind. Sometimes our activity is disturbing. We know that our activities can be sometimes pleasure giving, sometimes pain giving. sometimes sorrow giving, sometimes delight giving, sometimes contentment giving, sometimes discontentment giving. Well, there are various kinds of activities which work on our mind, and almost all activities work on our mind. We get happiness, we get sadness, we get delight, we get sorrow, we get contented, we get discontented, we get worries, anxieties. Some activities give us relaxed mind, quiet mind, serene mind, sober mind, sedate mind. So all those activities are also contributing for our state of mind, condition of mind, caliber of mind, and even our psyche consciousness. So Vichaara, Achara. Achara means our conduct in life, our activities in the various realms of life. How do we conduct ourselves? So if we conduct ourselves good, naturally it would work on improving our mind. Calibration of the mind would improve by that. So ahara, vihara, achara, vichara. The thought pattern. What is our thought content? If we improve our thought content, that is going to improve our mind as well as the sense. So ahara, vihara, achara, vichara would improve our appearanceable mind to subterranean mind or mineral consciousness. So we have to understand Antara Shaucha in the light of ahara, vihara, achara, vichara, chatushtya, the coordinate. So also our mind, psyche, consciousness would improve by satsanga. So here we are trying to understand what can be done to improve our essence of mind. Because it is possible some of us might be having a good mind, but we do not have any idea as to what we should we be doing for our mind to become good to better and better to better and better and better and better and better. Yes, we have scope to do that. That you can find in the ahara, vihara, chatushyam, the coordinate of ahara, vihara, achara, vichara. So also sattva sanga, satsanga. Satsanga improves our mind. Satsanga improves our all facets of mind. Manas, buddhi, ahamkara, bhavana, bhava samshuddhi, what is called as bhava samshuddhi in adhyatma. So satsanga is also sadhana, by which we can improve our given mind. We might be having a good mind by birth, but then there is scope for us to improve that mind by leaps and bounds, by taking recourse to Sat Sangha, Satya Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Santa Sangha, Sattva Sangha. So the more we are associated with Sattva Guna, the more we have company of Sattva Guna, the more we go in the company of Sattva, Sattvikata, naturally that's going to improve our essence. It's going to clean our essence, wash our essence, and evolve our essence. So, Satsanga. Then, Sadhana Sangha. Often reference has been made to Sadhana Sangha. As a matter of fact, the Sangatraya has been referred to often. Sadhana Sangha means what are we really having our spiritual practices. So there are Sthula Sharira Sadhana, Sukshma Sharira Sadhana, Karana Sharira Sadhana, which has been discussed on an earlier occasion. It is advised that one goes for revision of it in the light of Antara Shaucha. How it works for Antara Shaucha. So, the yoga sadhana, in Adhyatmic language, it is Jnana sadhana, Karma sadhana, Dhyana sadhana, Bhakti sadhana, Sthula Sharira sadhana, Sukshma Sharira sadhana, Karana Sharira sadhana. So, yoga sadhana, yoga of every kind, Jnana, Dhyana, Karma, Bhakti, that would work on our Antahkarana Shuddhi. Then comes Shastra Sangha. Shastra Sangha means what pursuits are we carrying out with respect to Shastras. So Shastra Sangha also would mightily contribute for evolving our essence. What are these Shastras? Yoga Shastra, Karma Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Jnana Shastra, Adhyatma Shastra, Moksha Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Bhakti Shastra, various Vidyas, Vedantic Vidyas, and the Shastras which are described as Moksha Shastras. Moksha Shastras are Yoga Shastra, Sankhya Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Karma Shastra, Darshana Shastra, Upanishad Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Devata Shastra. So these pursuits of various Shastras would also contribute mightily. So that is about the Shastra Sangha. So, in the light of measures, we are trying to understand what is Antara Shaucha. How our essence would improve by the measures mentioned by the tradition. Then Adhyatma Shastra tells us about our Atma Tattva. And we have a glorious entity within us, which is called metaphysical entity of spirit, spiritual principle. That is called Atma Tattva. So when one is making a pursuit towards Atma Tattva, metaphysics of oneself, then the Sattva Shuddhi takes place. And very few people are drawn towards this metaphysics or spirituality in the classical sense of the term, because there is a lot of harvesting of pseudo neo spirituality. But what is essential spirituality? Very few people, scanty people have the pravrutti. Very few people go there. So that helps us reveal how glorious is our essence. Because if the mind is penetrated, ultimately we come to spiritual realm in the mind, Adhyatmic realm in the mind. And that Atma Tattva is a glorious principle. One should look into the verse of Bhagavad Gita 2.29. So I will quote that verse from Bhagavad Gita. The verse in Bhagavad Gita is such: Ascharyavat pashyati kaschid enam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah Ascharyavat chaina manyah shrunoti shrutvadena vedana chaiva kaschit. So, hardly anyone perceives the Atma as a marvel, that is oneself as a marvel. when the oneself means here the metaphysical one. We refer to oneself means the metaphysical entity, the core principle within it, which is a marvel. So hardly anyone perceives this Atma as a marvelous principle. Scarce another likewise speaks thereof as a marvelous principle. And scarce some others hear about this marvelous principle, and while there are many others, even having heard about it, do not know it, do not incline to know it. They neglect it. So that's how our core principle is. It's a glorious principle. That's why I said not many people have a pursuit towards their core being. We are busy addressing our peripheral manifestation, beautifying it in every sense of the term, decorating it by our clothes and our ornaments and our appearance. This is a glorious principle. So this is what Satsanga draws us towards. That it is embodied principle which is Nitya. And how is this principle? This principle is immutable. This principle is unborn, which is again description that you get in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter verses 23, 24 and 25. What are these verses? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayatyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. Weapons cannot cut it, cannot pierce it, cannot destroy it. The fire cannot burn it, nor can the water drench it, nor can the air dry it. So how is this principle? Achedyo ayam adayyo ayam akledyo ashocha evacha nitya sarvagata stanur achalo ayam sanatanaha. This Atma, the self, is incapable of being cut. It is proof against fire and impervious to water and undryable as well. This Atma is eternal, omnipresent, immovable, constant, everlasting, ageless principle. Avyakto ayam achintyo ayam avikaryo ayam uchyate tasmadeva viditvenam nanu shochitum arhasi. So this self, Atma, is unmanifest, unthinkable. It is spoken of as immutable. And therefore, knowing this as such, one will not sorrow, one will not grieve. This is what the essence is, and this is what the Adhyatma does. Why should one have pursuit of Adhyatmic knowledge? One of the major reasons is to be proof to any sorrows. Otherwise we are vulnerable to all kinds of sorrows, from body pain to prick of the conscience to mental agonies. And then by Adhyatma Pravanata, by spiritual frame for life, one is really saved from all sorts of sorrows. And that would definitely purify the psyche consciousness. Because you can easily understand, when the mind is sorrowed, it is definitely impure. It cannot be pure and in sorrows. So sorrowlessness is attribute of pure essence. And therefore this adhyatma pravanata, the spiritual gravity to life is so important, which will give the Sattva Shuddhi. So this Antara Shaucham is possible by the sadhana mentioned in Moksha Shastras, Adhyatma Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Yoga Shastra, Karma Shastra, Gita Shastra, Upanishad Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Sankhya Shastra, Darshana Shastra. So they mention about sadhanas by which we can really purify our essence. We know how to give bath to our body. Perhaps we will be able to have some kind of such measures taken against the peripheral, superfluous mind, superficial mind. But what can we do to the core of the mind? It is this sadhana. It is the sadhana so far mentioned, that is principle of yajna dana tapas, then principle of satsanga, sadhana sanga, shastra sanga, then ahar, vihar, achar, vichar, chatushyam. So this sums up entire adhyatmic sadhana, and which is to be traced in all these various shastras, which mention about sadhana for sthula shariram, sadhana for sukshma shariram, sadhana for karana shariram. And this is generally called as Antara Shaucham. The Antara Shaucham is also summed up in a concept called Sattva Shuddhi. Sattva Shuddhi means the purification of our essence. And this term you find in Adhyatma. Patanjali too has embraced this term, concept called Sattva Shuddhi. And Sattva Shuddhi is to be understood by purifying every facet and factor and aspect of mind, psyche, consciousness. So there are certain sadhanas and practices and kriyas for Sattva Shuddhi. So you get the summary of it in Satsanga, which I just now told you. Satsanga means something that talks about Atma, Paramatma, that speaks about what is real life that we are in, not as the life appears to us, but how the life essentially is. That's called Kshetra Kshetrajna Vijnanam, Kshetra Kshetrajna Jnana in Bhagavad Gita. So Satsanga, Sadhana Sangha, Shastra Sangha sums up entire practice of Sattva Shuddhi. Now the Sattva Shuddhi itself has generations, and generations are mentioned in the Yoga Sutra 2.41. Patanjali says about this Antara Shaucha, the effect of Antara Shaucha, Sattva Shuddhi, Saumya Manas, Ekagriya, Indriya Jaya, Atma Darshana Yogyatvanisha. So by Antara Shaucha being established well, so the Antara Shaucha is well established in a person, what happens is the Sattva Shuddhi, also termed as buddhi dosha kshaya, buddhi tattva, the psyche principle, kshaya, the dosha kshaya, there are defects, shortfalls, shortcomings, defects, they are diminished. That is called buddhi dosha kshaya, chitta dosha kshaya, or Antahkarana Shuddhi. Entire Antahkarana, internal organ of buddhi, manas, ahamkara, they are all purified. And by that you get Saumanasya, Saumya Manas. Saumya Manas means prasadita state of mind, blessed state of mind, prasannata of the mind. Then comes ekagryata, aikagryam, and then comes control over senses, and then atma darshana yogyatvam, qualification to really know the self, know thyself, that is atma darshanam. So this is how Antara Shaucha is so important in yoga, adhyatma, paramartha, where it is something like we are familiar with the concept of know thyself. Now, know thyself doesn't happen by standing in front of a mirror, full size mirror. You get full image. Apatatalamastaka. That is not know thyself. It is knowing something within ourselves. And what is that within ourselves? That is our essence. So that is what yoga is for. Internal journey in exploring oneself. That is Atma Darshanam. And this gives Atma Darshana Yogyatvam. So this is what is enunciation to Antara Shaucha. So it is enough for the time being. Let us proceed on Antara Shaucha in our following sessions. Namaskara.